Redeemed from Poverty, Sickness and Spiritual Death by Kenneth E. Hagin. Redeemed from Poverty, Sickness and Spiritual Death presents redemption not as a distant theological promise but as a present, living reality meant to reshape the believer's spiritual identity, physical condition, and material existence. It is a book written with conviction, pastoral urgency, and a clear desire to move readers from passive belief into active participation in what the author sees as the full inheritance of salvation. At its core, this book argues that redemption through Jesus Christ encompasses far more than forgiveness of sins. It includes deliverance from spiritual death, physical sickness, and material poverty. The author builds his argument on the biblical concept of the curse of the law, particularly drawing from Galatians 3:13, which states that Christ has redeemed believers from that curse. He interprets this curse as including separation from God, disease, and lack, and he maintains that Christ's redemptive work fully reverses these conditions. The book emphasizes that redemption is not partial but complete, affecting every dimension of human life. It teaches that believers must understand and appropriate this redemption through faith. Ignorance of redemption, the author argues, prevents many believers from experiencing its benefits. He distinguishes between what is legally provided and what is experientially possessed, suggesting that many Christians live below their spiritual privileges. The author also emphasizes the importance of confession, belief, and mental renewal. He presents faith not as wishful thinking but as confident trust based on God's Word. The book frames redemption as a finished work that requires acceptance rather than effort to complete. It repeatedly reinforces the idea that believers are no longer under the curse but under blessing. Ultimately, the thesis is clear. Redemption changes not only the believer's eternal destiny but their present reality. The book encourages readers to live consciously aware of this transformation. It is both theological explanation and practical instruction. Chapter 1. The Biblical Meaning of Redemption. The first chapter establishes the foundational meaning of redemption. The author explains that redemption means to purchase freedom by paying a price. He connects this concept to humanity's fallen condition, arguing that sin placed humanity into bondage. Redemption, therefore, required a ransom. The chapter emphasizes that redemption is not symbolic but real and legally binding. It introduces the idea that Christ's sacrifice fully paid the price for human freedom. The author stresses that believers must understand redemption as a completed act, not an ongoing process. This chapter serves as the theological cornerstone of the book. Chapter 2. Understanding Spiritual Death. This chapter explores spiritual death as separation from God rather than physical death. The author explains that spiritual death began with Adam and affected all humanity. He describes it as the root of fear, weakness, and sin. The chapter emphasizes that redemption restores spiritual life. It teaches that believers receive a new nature through salvation. This new life restores fellowship with God and removes condemnation. The chapter stresses that spiritual transformation is the foundation of all other aspects of redemption. Chapter 3. Christ's substitutionary work. This chapter explains how Christ took humanity's place. The author presents redemption as substitution, meaning Christ experienced what humanity deserved. He emphasizes that this substitution was complete. The chapter reinforces the idea that believers benefit directly from Christ's sacrifice. It teaches that redemption was achieved through suffering and sacrifice. The emphasis remains on completeness and finality. Chapter 4. Redemption from the Curse of the Law. This chapter explains the curse described in the Old Testament. The author identifies sickness, poverty, and defeat as elements of this curse. He argues that Christ's redemption removes believers from this curse. The chapter emphasizes freedom and new identity. It encourages readers to see themselves as redeemed people. Chapter 5. Redemption and Healing. This chapter focuses on physical healing. The author presents healing as part of redemption. He argues that healing was provided through Christ's sacrifice. The chapter encourages believers to expect healing. It emphasizes faith and belief. Chapter 6. Redemption and Provision. This chapter discusses material provision. The author presents provision as part of God's blessing. He distinguishes between provision and excess. The chapter emphasizes trust in God. Chapter 7. Appropriating redemption by faith. This chapter explains how believers experience redemption. Faith is presented as essential. The author emphasizes belief and confession. The chapter focuses on practical application. The structure is logical and progressive. The author begins with theology and moves to application. This progression makes the argument accessible. Each chapter builds on previous ideas. This creates cohesion. The book emphasizes identity, freedom, and transformation. These themes are consistent. The focus on redemption creates unity. The writing is clear and direct. The author avoids unnecessary complexity. This makes the book accessible. The book presents redemption comprehensively. It integrates theology and practice. This integration is distinctive. The book shares similarities with other faith-focused writers. It emphasizes belief and confession. However, its systematic focus distinguishes it. This book is ideal for readers interested in faith theology. It is especially relevant for believers seeking deeper understanding. It may not appeal to readers seeking purely academic theology. Redeemed from Poverty, Sickness, and Spiritual Death is a significant contribution to faith-centered Christian teaching. It presents redemption as comprehensive and practical. The book succeeds in encouraging readers to rethink salvation. It is recommended for serious readers of Christian theology. A bold, influential, and pastorally driven exploration of redemption that challenges readers to see salvation not merely as future hope but as present reality. One of the most structurally important contributions of this book is its presentation of redemption as operating simultaneously across three domains: economic, physical, and spiritual. Hagin does not present these as unrelated blessings but as interconnected dimensions of a unified salvific act. This integrative framing gives the book conceptual cohesion and distinguishes it from works that focus narrowly on only one aspect, such as healing or prosperity alone. The author's theological architecture rests on the conviction that redemption restores humanity completely. His argument unfolds progressively, first establishing spiritual redemption as foundational, then presenting healing and provision as logical extensions. This sequencing reinforces his claim that the greatest miracle is spiritual rebirth, while still affirming the importance of other forms of restoration. This layered argument structure increases persuasive power by moving from the universally accepted core of Christian theology toward more debated applications. Readers are therefore guided gradually rather than confronted abruptly. Hagin's narrative authority derives not from academic credentials but from experiential testimony. He consistently reinforces theological claims with personal ministry observations and pastoral encounters. This experiential grounding functions rhetorically to bridge doctrine and lived reality. The effect is to make theological claims feel practical rather than abstract. His tone remains calm, confident, and instructional throughout. There is little rhetorical aggression. Instead, he adopts the posture of a teacher explaining truths he believes to be established. This stylistic consistency strengthens reader trust. Another major strength is the internal consistency of the book's doctrinal logic. Each major claim builds upon previous claims without contradiction. The central thesis that redemption encompasses total restoration is reinforced repeatedly from different angles. Each chapter functions like a reinforcing beam in a larger structural framework. This produces cumulative persuasive force. Beyond theology, the book has significant psychological implications. It directly addresses feelings of helplessness, fear, and limitation. By presenting redemption as comprehensive, the author offers readers a framework of hope. This emotional dimension contributes significantly to the book's enduring popularity. Readers often finish the book feeling empowered. Compared to Kenneth Copeland's teaching style, Hagin is more restrained and methodical. Copeland often uses more emotionally charged rhetoric, whereas Hagin emphasizes structured doctrinal instruction. Compared to E.W. Kenyon, Hagin's work is more pastoral in tone. Kenyon writes with philosophical precision, while Hagin writes with pastoral warmth. This makes Hagin more accessible to general readers. Redeemed from Poverty, Sickness, and Spiritual Death remains one of the most influential theological works within its tradition. Its clarity, confidence, and structured teaching make it highly effective for its intended audience. Readers seeking encouragement, theological confidence, and a structured understanding of redemption will find it deeply valuable. Its influence continues decades after publication. Its greatest strength lies in its clarity of conviction. Its greatest limitation lies in its narrow theological framework. Nevertheless, It remains an essential work within its tradition. Kenneth E. Hagin's Redeemed from Poverty, Sickness and Spiritual Death stands as a defining articulation of a theology that views redemption as comprehensive restoration. Whether one agrees or disagrees with every conclusion, the book's influence, clarity, and confidence are undeniable. It remains one of the most significant works ever written within its theological stream. Its message continues to inspire readers around the world. Its enduring relevance confirms its importance